So Matt and I learned a trick that if we add water, usually you add it half full, but we realized if we add... Hello! Welcome back to the Homestead Kitchen. After last week's video, just kind of what we were doing in the kitchen, a few of you wanted to hear how we're making our pizza sauce. So what are we doing, dear?
Making pizza sauce.
Yeah, we're making pizza sauce.
We got this kitsch tree last year, and we were kind of like, is it gonna work? It's off-brand. We did, how many jars, Mr. Sarah?
16?
16 jars already. So that was 30 pounds we sent to this, and amazing. The only thing that I say you need to do, because, well, ours, for one, ours is really old, and we've never used really attachments on here. So when we open this up, there was grease in here, and like oil. So what I did the other day, because I saw a little bit of it coming out, so all I did is paper towel, and I folded it like that. So the bolt on this back side, I take the rubber band, and all I'm doing is putting the paper towel underneath here. And it probably won't leak this time, but I'll find out when I take the take it off. I will look at it and see if it has any oil on it. It only had a little bit last time, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. I don't want it to fall in the food. So now we take a pot and put a pot underneath here, and we have a scale that we leave underneath here, so it weighs it the whole time for us. So then we know exactly how many pounds we have to put in the pot.
So this kitsch tree attachment that Matt's talking about is, what do they call it? A fruit and vegetable strainer and food grinder. So
yeah.
We use it basically to remove the peels, the yuck, the seeds from the tomatoes.
And it's really efficient. And so last year we blanched everything, and that's what we've always done it.
Yeah, we'd blanch our tomatoes, we'd peel them.
A quick blanch and cool down fast and
leave
peel
the seeds in.
So we were excited because we had the ice machine and we can have constant ice in the sink. But then we were like, wait a minute, we have this, let's try this out. And last year when we tried it, we did it with hot tomatoes and already blanched tomatoes, and we're like, it's okay.
It wasn't great.
But we're doing it for soup.
Yes, we were doing way more work than was necessary. Let's just show them how it works.
Yeah,
it's really awesome.
It's insane. When we have Romas, I just cut them in half because they grab. Even the ones that could fit in there, I still cut in half because it grabs faster. And then these I just cut down to make them so they fit.
So the nice thing about having this is, we were used to coring them and doing all that work, but this takes it out anyways. So unless we got a really nasty spot on a tomato, we're just throwing it all in. Now, if we wanted to save kind of our leftovers that were going to come out, if you wanted to dehydrate those or use them, then maybe we would be a little more diligent with that. But we're actually tossing them to the chickens. We just don't have any need for them. I have a lot of powdered tomato peels in the basement, so in the root cellar. So the recipe we are making our pizza sauce from is actually from the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving or Canning, and it is seasoned tomato sauce. So that's the recipe we're using, and we are going to do a little variation on it today. We're going to add dried basil. It's safe to add dried herbs in your recipe without compromising anything safety-wise. So we're gonna add dried basil because we realized when we were eating it the last time, there's something missing in this, but we really like it. And we realized it doesn't have basil in it, so.
Now running this, why I'm like so excited, I realize that I'm just like talking probably 100 miles an hour, and you guys are like, what are you talking about, guy? Well, last year we heated up our house so much with, it was 3 pots of water going at all times. And this year We have this going, so we don't have to blanch, so that cuts down on the pot. Then we have our electric canner, which cuts down on a ton of heat. So when we did it this year, we had the house open, the windows yesterday, and today it is 89, so we have the windows shut and we have the AC on. So I want to see if it's going to heat up our house, which we know the electric roaster or electric canner doesn't, but we also broke our roaster, which we used to do overnight. We would take 24 hours and cook it down. So instead, we're going to do it on the stove top. But I think one pot of tomatoes going through will be fine. But this sped up the process so much, it made things so much easier. I'm just like, why didn't I get this a long time ago?
So the recipe we are using is 10 pounds of tomato per recipe. Now with that big electric roaster that we used to use, is the 18 quart electric roaster, we would do this batch 3 times, which means we needed 30 pounds of tomatoes to be able to fill it. Now the water bath stainless pot we bought, how much is it? 21 and a half? It's bigger than 18 quarts. So it's bigger. So I'm excited to be using that, but it's going to be on the stove, which is kind of a bummer. But at the same time, it's stainless, so I don't think we're going to have a lot of the same issues we did with the acid from tomatoes in it. And that's why we're not using it. But we'll see how many tomatoes we have. So we're starting with the tomatoes so we can see if we have 10 pounds, 20 pounds, or 30 pounds. If we're just a little shy of that, I do have a whole basket of cherry tomatoes we can use if we need to. So this is the big pot we got for making our sauce in. Now I really wanted to go stainless because I have one of the, I don't even know what it's called, the black and speckly water bath pots, and it ended up getting a nick in it and it ended up rusting, and it drove me nuts. And I feel like stainless just lasts longer, in my opinion. So I'm excited to have this for just cooking in and things like that. I can see some really big batches of soup being wonderful in here. And then another reason I really wanted a bigger pot was I have been making so many pickles this year, and when you're in the season of doing it, it's kind of a good time to prep for what you're gonna need in the future. So although I probably won't have a ton more pickles, why do they do this with labels? It should always come off. I won't have a ton more pickles to make this year, but I have been using the low temperature pasteurization sous vide modeled so that they stay nice and crunchy. And a deeper pot means I can do quarts of pickles, because so far I've only done pints. Matt, look at this label. What are they thinking?
Maybe it'll feel better when it's warm.
No.
Well, not hot, but warm.
You would leave it on.
You tell them what we're gonna do? We're gonna try new
What are we gonna try new?
banana bread on the grill.
Oh, while we're making this video all about pizza sauce, Matt's gonna be doing a lot of the pizza sauce because I am making banana bread. I gotta get some bread going. It's pizza movie night. We need to get some pizzas going.
Well, hold on, no.
There's lots going on right now.
We were gonna put it in the oven, and then I'm like, wait a minute, how are we gonna know how much you were heating up the house?
Yeah, Matt's talking about, knowing how much we're gonna heat up the house on the video, and I'm like, I'm gonna make banana bread and bread. And he's like, oh. So he's starting the grill up. Banana bread on the grill.
Yeah, something new. People make bread on the grill.
Sure.
It's like cooking over the fire.
You got some gougan? Yeah, we're trying to get a lot prepped for back to school. The kids will be back to school shortly, and we want to have things ready for breakfast, quick breakfast, and then things ready for lunches, because we are going to be back in the season of cold lunch. All right, I got the label off, but it still left some gunk behind, so we're just going to put it backwards. How you doing, Matt?
Awesome.
Some of these tomatoes are huge. We got lots of Roma styles. We planted a lot of San Marzano, and then from one of Matt's family members, we got a whole bunch of Roma plants. So we got a lot of those, but then some of these great big, we got lots of Italian heirlooms. Those are going in. Matt's got 10 pounds. of tomatoes all done. And there's still more going.
I'm 10 pounds, yeah, overweight.
We have one batch worth of tomatoes, so he's working on the second. We're thinking we're gonna end up with about 20 pounds of tomatoes. Got a bowl almost full over there, a few in the sink, and then that's it. And then cherry tomatoes, if we're really close, we'll throw those in. But it'd be nice if we could get 30 pounds.
We also were talking, like, okay, we ended up with only 2 of these full last time when we did 30 pounds. And normally when we do this recipe, it's almost a 5-gallon bucket worth of scrap we normally go through.
Yeah.
So doing this way, we're not getting as much waste.
Yeah, he's talking about in years past we used to blanch them and then we'd peel them and core them and all that stuff. And if we made a roaster pan full, which would have been 3 batches, that would have been 5-gallon bucket full of scraps. And this, I'll do it fast enough. Not nearly as much, so it doesn't feel like a lot's going to waste. Again, you could certainly save this, but our chickens provide us food too, so I'm getting better about it's okay to give some to them.
Eggs.
Dump this first 10 pounds of tomatoes in here. Matt says the camera has to be on for this in case something funny happens. Hilarious. I'm using a stool. I can do this. I can totally do this. Can I just set the pot in here?
Sure. Look at that, you didn't even splatter it.
I had to get a stool and put the pot inside, but I did.
You're a pro.
Yeah. It's like it's not my first time in the kitchen. Oh, Matt teases me because I'm such a messy cook. I think I'm a good cook, a good baker, but I sure as heck am messy.
I need more tomatoes.
You do? All right, I'll get washing. Do those go in whole? Does that work? Okay.
Yeah, cherry tomatoes are really cool. They're really fast. We should grow a ton of these plants. This is insane.
Well, this is 10 cherry tomato plants. How many do we need then?
We need a lot.
Well, sweet.
You just put them in there and then squish it, then it just takes it.
They're probably all juice, though, not a lot of meat.
Probably.
Whatever.
We'll have a sweet sauce.
If that's going to get us up to 20 pounds, all right. So we are just shy of the 20-pound mark. We were hoping for 30 pounds, but these cherries are going to get us to 20 pounds. So a double batch. That'll be nice.
Yeah, it'll definitely be enough to get us there.
Mm-hmm. So it'll probably be about 12-ish pints of sauce.
All right, so it's the next day. Last night we spent time with the kids. So next morning now, and I have 2 pounds, 10 ounces of onions for this batch that I'm gonna put in there. And I'm gonna break it up with immersion blender thing, this thing. So what I do, I'll show you, I'm gonna put sauce in here, and then I'm gonna take that and just start plundering it in there so it gets them all to a liquid form almost, and then we dump it in the pot and start cooking it down. We just realized we have to record this. 3 teaspoons of ground oregano. Already added it. 2 teaspoons of salt. 2 teaspoons of black pepper. 2 teaspoons of sugar. 1 teaspoon cayenne. 4 bay leaves.
Now you gotta
so far.
It looks good. You got to do that garlic thing that you did with the onions. You kind of forgot about the garlic.
Oh no, are you done peeling the garlic?
I'm done with the garlic. Yeah, it all sticks to my finger. Garlic's so sticky. It smells good. And then we're gonna add basil, right?
Yeah.
So the recipe doesn't call for basil. We've never added basil. How much basil do you think we should add?
We should have done that with the first batches.
I know we didn't think of it. So I'm thinking like 2 teaspoons per batch, so like 4 teaspoons. Is that too much? It's a good start.
So I need to chop this up. So I'm going to use this again. Put some in here and chop, chop, chop. If you're going to do it like this, make sure you don't have a bay leaf in there because that wouldn't be good.
So what he's saying is he should have done the garlic before all that seasoning, but I wasn't ready with the garlic yet. Right?
Exactly. We're going to add 4 teaspoons of basil. Oh man. We'll go with 1. Are we going to have enough? 2. 3. 4.
Matt forgot. We got dried basil in the root cellar.
I did forget. But did you go to the garden? Because we have another 20 pounds in the garden easily.
Of basil? Oh, tomatoes, yeah. I was like, of basil? 20 pounds of basil? We do have a lot of basil I need to dry too. But yeah, there's more tomatoes. If we would have waited till today, we would have a full pot. So you think that would fit 3 batches easily?
Oh yeah, this is bigger than the roaster.
I know it is. Yeah, it'd be good.
I'm liking this pot. I really do. It's not sticking to the sides nor the bottom.
I'm dreading, we're going to have to jar up here because I'm not going to be able to move that thing.
We'll just slide it out to the side and then we'll put that wooden one right here.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I think it'll
saying.
work out pretty slick.
So while the sauce is cooking down on the stove, we're going to get our electric canner all set up. It is 3 quarts of filtered water that we add to it. And what I've been doing this year, which has really come in handy, is I'm keeping my Brita pitcher filled so that I always have some filtered water. We have reverse osmosis, and eventually I run out of water when I'm canning if I'm doing too much. So having that ready to just pour my jars and top things off really helps. So we're going to be using regular mouth pints, and these are actually the last of my regular mouth pints. So Matt and I learned a trick that if we add water, usually you add it half full, but we realized if we added a little bit more than half full, we're going to end up with enough water in here where we don't need to keep boiling water on the stove to get that inch above of boiling water when you water bath them. So we're going just above half. Now we'll have more than 1 batch. So our next batch I won't be able to do this with because I'm going to be using wide mouth and it won't be a full batch, but I'll probably just have some empty jars of water in here too. So we've got the jars in and we're doing the boiling water canner for 35 minutes. So we turn the time on for 35, and I really like that we're above 1,000 feet, so I don't need to change this for elevation. I really do like that. So insert jars, I did that. Oops. Probably should put the lid on. It's warming up. Our sauce is almost ready, so when this is warmed up, we'll probably be filling jars right away.
So this has gone down just over 2 inches already because it was up to here. So doing pretty good.
Alright, so we're all ready to jar everything up, and we have to say thank you to Ed and Robin because they sent us some goodies. Robin noticed that we are just always using a shish kebab stick to debubble, and she had some extra chopsticks, so she sent one of those. And then her husband Ed made, on his laser of all things, canning headspace and bubble getter outer thingy so we can measure our headspace in our jars. So thanks, Ed and Robin. That was really thoughtful of you. And we got no excuses anymore. The jars are ready.
How come you don't put that? Oh, it's not an Instapot.
Matt's talking about, I'm leaking. Matt's talking about the handle. The Instapot has this really nice spot where you can set the lid down.
Come on, Presto.
Yeah, come on, Presto. I have to walk across my kitchen because I don't plan ahead for this. Every time. All right, so we're gonna take these jars out. Now, since we use filtered water, we just dump the water right back in. It's already heated up, why waste it? And Matt is gonna fill these jars. All right, so Matt added 1 tablespoon of lemon juice to the jar first, and now he's filling it up with sauce.
No bay leaves.
No bay leaves. In years past, we would use our immersion blender to blend up our tomatoes. And how many times do you think we caught bay leaves in the immersion blender?
That one time we totally forgot about it. We so.
Well, like all of them. Yeah, it's happened. And if you get a bay leaf in your sauce, it's never fun. I mean, they're easy to find, but when you put one in your mouth, you're like, no thanks. It's so fun to can with other people and just see how people do things differently. I don't know. I use a measuring cup, and then I use a measuring cup usually to ladle. Sometimes I guess I use a ladle, but not always. But it's just funny, the little differences. So we've got a 1/2 inch of headspace. I think we need a little bit more. Should we use our canning headspace and bubble getter outer thingy to measure 1/2 inch? Am I doing that right? Is that how you do it? Not quite touching. Look, a little more.
There we go.
Alright, so we're going to take the bubbles out. Now sauce, there's not much going on, but we have ended up with bubbles in our sauce. So can I put this in here?
Sure.
Alright, and then we've got vinegar just on a rag, wiping off the rim, keeping it clean. Any of that might keep you from sealing. We don't want that. And then Sarah's handy trick here to make sure your labels face it the same way as this.
Oh man.
Put your finger right there when you put your ring on. If I can get the ring on. And I'm just going to use this to hold it. I usually use a hot pad. I do wrench on these a little bit more when they're going in the electric canner. That sauce looks so pretty. On to the next jar. Alright, now I gotta walk around the kitchen and find my lid.
Come on, Presto.
I know some of you have been asking about our second canner, electric canner, because we did get 2 of these. The other one had some issues with it, got sent back, and we haven't heard back yet. I've heard everybody else has nothing but good things to say about their customer service, so we'll see. Alright, this is locked. Fill jars, it says, done. And it's on. 35 minutes, we're going to let this sit. Matt and I are going to go do some work, and we'll be back. So these are the batches we made a few days ago that are all cooled down. The rings came off actually yesterday and they got washed up. And now I'm just labeling them and dating them. I don't remember the date. Now I'm just labeling them, dating them, and they are going to go down to the root cellar. Let's label these tomato sauce. Matt must have topped this one, sorry. This, they don't match. Oh man. I am back in the root cellar trying to find a home for these. Now, I know we're gonna have so much pizza sauce, it's gonna take up a whole shelf. Obviously, because our peaches took up more than a shelf, and we plan on having more pizza sauce than that. Our pickles, the kids actually have been putting them down here, so now that I'm looking at them, I'm kind of like, ooh, those are gonna take up a full shelf because I've got more to make upstairs. Beans, I'm hoping to get quite a few more. Probably not a full shelf's worth, but hoping to get quite a few more. So let's do some rearranging. All right, the canner's just about to go off. I just checked it. So I'm gonna have to call it quits in here. I think I could spend all day in here. Anyways, my plan is to keep our sauce on the shelf. I moved our honey up that we're hardly grabbing, and I'm moving my herbs down here because as Matt's family joked the other day in a game that I would be voted the most likely to alphabetize my spices. They're not alphabetized, but my herbs are. So at least now I can read the top, see what each one is. It's at my height. So I'm moving my herbs down here. I didn't quite get these finished. Sauce is here for now. Not sure what I'm doing here. Jelly is moving its way over here. And then pickles now have their own shelf. Now it's really important. I like to date all of my batches because I don't know if you can see, but I put one batch of pickles aside. We recently gave a jar of pickles to someone. Oops. We recently gave a jar of pickles to someone and they said they were absolutely awful. And I was like, what? What? Well, I knew which batch, which day they had been made, and I was able to set those aside and realized I just forgot to soak them in salt water. So they're either gonna take a little extra time to be ready, or I'll just have to use them in egg salad, things I would use like relish. So grateful too that I don't have to throw them out, but at least if I did, I wouldn't have to worry about throwing all my pickles out. Instead, it would just be that one batch. Ooh. That was up for a second, but once I open this, that hole's gonna let anything out, so we're all good. All right, we're gonna take these out, let them cool down. We like to sit these in just kind of a normal room temperature spot. Ouch, the water got to me. Hold on, let me get another hot pad. We'll put these in a room temperature spot and let them sit for about 24 hours, and then we'll check the rings, the seals. We always remove the rings before we store them, so if we have a false seal, we'll know because those will pop up and start going bad. We have not had that issue, thankfully, but it's just another peace of mind. So another way to just have peace of mind. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and glad you got to see us again.